and gives more room for your spine to find more length. So coming into whatever comfortable seated position. And then bring your hands to rest on your thighs, feeling your elbows dangle beneath your shoulders. Maybe lifting the shoulders up and just slightly taking them back just a little bit. And then instead of drawing them hard down your back, just let them settle down your back. And gently soften or close your eyes. And just taking a moment to become present. And so feeling the sensations of where your body meets the earth, or where your body touches the air. And just kind of allowing that to come into your scope. It's a way to become more present. And then begin to allow your mind to move into the spaces where your body calls out. And this sometimes can show up as tension or gripping, or maybe it's just an awareness. So allow your mind to move into those spaces and just recognize your body or your mind's tendencies. You have the tendency to think about the how or the why or the what. And instead, I invite you to just be present with the sensation and allow judgment to move aside. And connecting breath to body. Start to visualize the breath moving into these spaces where your mind is drawn. And perhaps on the exhale, just envisioning softening, a release, a fading. And just noticing what happens when you allow your mind to be present without judgment. And shift your awareness, if your awareness is not already there, to your hips specifically. And notice what you feel there. And if you could describe the sensation without the how or the why, how would you describe it? I kind of have a vibration around my right sit bone that kind of goes down my hamstring, almost a heaviness. So these are just examples. Maybe you notice something different. And then again, just be aware of the breath moving into your hips. This area of stability, this area of our center of gravity. And honor this region of your body. It works hard for you. And then bringing your hands to heart center and bow your head towards your heart. Honoring yourself that you've showed up, that you're present, that you're here. and the community here. Blink your eyes open as you lift your head. You can remain seated on your blanket if you want. If you prefer, you can sit on the floor or maybe even higher up on a prop. And come into Baddha Konasana. So butterfly pose, soles of the feet together, knees open wide. And if this is an open pose for you, you can have the option to bring your heels closer to your hips or your hips closer to your heels. If this is a pose that is less comfortable for you, you can actually back your hips further away and even lean back. But finding some position, I'm going to adjust my camera, finding some position where you can actually create a sense of letting go. For me, especially when I am in this state of really tightness in my hips, I feel that my body tries to protect me by creating this tension. So finding some place where you can be safe, feel safe, your body feels safe to let go of the tension. And just kind of make a note. We're going to come back to this pose later in the class. So at this point, we're just using it more as a reference, starting point. And then if your hands are not behind your hips, go ahead and bring your hands to the floor behind your hips, allowing your spine to move back away from your hips. And take your feet wide. So your hips are wider than your heels are wider than your hips. If you have the mat between your feet, your heels would actually be on the outside of your mat. So keeping the hands behind your hips and using them, try to kind of move through the range of motion. Flex your ankles and just start to twist side to side, taking one knee in towards the floor and the other knee out towards the floor. And shifting your hips back and forth. Again, we're using this at this point as a reference, like how close do the knees come to the floor? Does one side get a little closer to the floor? And as you go, notice where you feel the tension of the resistance in your hips. What resists you from taking your knee further down? So this is internal rotation as we take the knee in. The opposite knee is an external rotation. Good. Come back to center, and we're gonna go ahead and work with the foam roller. I'm gonna try to watch myself to see if you can actually see me. So I might switch positions. You don't have to, but I do want to make sure that you can see me. We're going to start just by sitting on the foam roller first. And if you sit up on it, if you can find your balance and you kind of rock, woo, core strength, if you kind of rock forward and back, you'll feel these bony protuberances at the bottom of your pelvis. Those are your sit bones. And I'll use these as reference throughout. So just kind of allow yourself to feel that kind of clunk clunk as you roll forward and back. And then bring your hands behind your hips back to the floor. And shift forward now so that you're just above your tailbone. Cross your right ankle over your right knee. Keep your right hand on the floor and shift to the right. So the left hip is going to come off the foam roller. The right hip is on the foam roller. Left foot stays on the ground and just start to rock first side to side. So as you rock side to side, you can kind of bring the foam roller up the pelvis a little bit. And you're going to find a region that's relatively tender. I will encourage you to kind of honor your body and know that we're not looking for the most sensation. We're looking for the ability to actually soften. And sometimes when the sensation is too much, our body resists. So as you find kind of that tolerable sensation, pause and allow yourself to kind of sink in. Sometimes I find just rolling my ankle helps to distract from the sensation, and it allows me to kind of just drop into that region and soften so that I can work with it a little bit more. So once that's happened, now start to rock towards your foot and away from your foot. So you're rocking forward and back instead of side to side. So this muscle is the piriformis muscle. It's one of the muscles that externally rotate your hip. And it can be quite troublesome for some people. So you might find some sensation. Just again, you're not looking to dig in. You just want to be able to be aware, but maybe soften rather than try to force pain. Pain is usually a good signal to the body that it's too much. Good. Keep your left foot on the ground. I'm going to switch directions so you can see me better, but I'm going to have you straighten your right leg first. Once you straighten your right leg, step your left leg over your right leg and use your hand to kind of adjust yourself so that now the side of your hip is on the roller. You don't have to move unless you need to see me. So now we're working this region between the top of our leg bone and the ridge of the top of your pelvis. You might come down onto your elbow. Start again by first rocking forward. So towards the end of your foam roller and then back. So kind of the front of your body and then towards the back of your body. So this is an adductor. This is the region where your adductors are. And usually they're also one of those regions where we have a lot of sensation. You want to find the region where you find tolerable sensation. So not too much, but something that you can tolerate. Bring your left hand on top of your left knee. And you might consider, if it's not too much, just lifting the right leg off the ground. The other option, if that's too much, is just to start to rock towards the direction of your head and towards the direction of your foot. So you can use kind of what sensation, how much sensation you want to feel. You should be able to continue to breathe normally. And you should feel that your body is not resisting. Good. Bring the foot back down to the ground. Bend the right knee to the ground and rest it on the ground. Take your left hand across to the floor. Bring your left knee to the ground to the end of your foam roller. So now we're rocking onto our belly, but the foam roller is in the region between, again, the top of the leg and the front part of your pelvis. And here, settle in, and then just bend and straighten your right knee. So in this region, we're getting into the muscles that flex the hip and a little bit into the muscles that also move the leg towards the midline, which is your adductor muscles. It's the only area we're not going to really roll. But your pectineus, which is one of your adductor muscles, is in this region too. Okay. Bring the foot back down to the floor, bring your hands underneath your shoulders and press up, and we'll do the other side. So come back into that seated position on the foam roller. Bring your hands to the floor behind your hips, and then cross your left ankle over your knee. I'm gonna rock to the left and just rock side to side. And you can determine you know, how far up your sacrum, which is that triangular bone at the base of your spine. That's where the piriformis, the glute maximus, and many other muscles attach to it. So find the region where you find the sensation that you want to feel, and then stop. And see if you can sink in and let go. You might try to rotate your ankle. This movement away from the joint that we're working tends to distract the mind to another region, which oftentimes, in my experience, helps to soften the resistance that our body uses because it thinks it's protecting us. And then once you feel that that has softened, start to rock up and down. So towards your foot and towards your head. Moving slowly, moving with respect and honor for your body, not trying to torture your body. I have people that come into my office that call the foam roller a torture device. I think that perhaps they're using it in a way that their body is not going to respond well to. And then uncross your leg. Bring your right foot down or left foot down and straighten the leg. As you step the right leg over the left, rock onto, and you might have to adjust your roller, rock onto the side of your left hip. Your right hand will come off the floor. Position the roller between the top of your leg bone and the top and the pelvis rim. You can come down onto your left elbow or stay up on your hand. And you can kind of rock up towards your head and down towards your foot. Again, finding an area that's a sensation that is interesting to you. And then once you find it, you can try to lift the lower leg off the floor, or you can just continue to rock up and down. Both create a different response in the fascia. One is more of a shearing, one is more of a rolling. Next time you bring your foot down, drop the knee to the ground. Continue to roll in the direction to the left. You may have to adjust on the foam roller. You're going to drop your right knee to be on the end of your foam roller. Again, a blanket or a hard towel is still going to give you some sensation. And then come to that region between the top of the leg bone and the hip point. We call the hip point. It's actually the point to the anterior portion of your pelvis. So it's not actually your hip, but semantics. And then just rock a little up and down. And then bending and kicking the heel towards your hip. Nice, slow, even breaths. In and out through your nose. And then to come out, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, press up. And for the first time, we'll return to those two positions that we started with, just to notice, did this do anything? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. So start in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. And just notice. And then take your heels, if the mat's between your feet will be wider than that distance apart, and ankles flexed. Keep your hands behind your hips, this time coming onto your fingertips. And start that rock again. So left knee dipping down towards the floor as right knee opens up towards the floor. And we'll just do this a couple of times. The next time you rock to the right, we're gonna stay in this position. So both knees are bent at 90 degrees. So your heel is in line with your knee. Both knees are in line with your perspective hip as well. So there's a tendency to do this pose narrow. That will actually make what we're gonna do harder. So take the knee back. If this is hard, an option is to prop your pelvis up on a block. So the right side of your sit bone up on a block to get that knee to come back further. A blanket is an in-between point. So rotate your chest to face out over your right knee and bring your left hand inside of the arch of your right foot and your right hand on the outside of your knee. Press your shin down towards the floor. Press your knee down towards the floor. And then start to bend your elbows out to the side as you lower your chest towards the floor. We're gonna move in and out of this, kind of testing, feeling sensation in your right hip. Where are you gripping? Your pelvis is on the floor on a prop, so it's pretty safe to go into this if you can convince your body that it is safe. So I like to be like, okay, body, we're safe. Soften, stop clenching. Once you find kind of where your range of motion is or your edge, pause there and start to walk your hands out in front of your shin. Press the knee into the floor, press the heel into the floor. So resist the floor down. You should feel that you are creating some tension in the hip. So notice that. And then let it go and see if creating that tension created a little bit more space to fold forward. And when you come into this in a more yin type pose, bring your awareness into both of your hips and notice where you're unintentionally gripping. And just like we did at the beginning, visualize the breath moving into those spaces and softening or releasing, or maybe just creating a little teeny more space with each exhale. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and come back up into the starting position. Take your right hand and bring it beside your right hip. So out to the side, up on fingertips. Take your left hand and grab the top of your leg bone. Start to rock the leg bone forward and then back. So as you rock the leg bone forward, you have muscles on the front of the hip that help. So allow them to help. So rock it as far forward as you can and then use the muscles to pull it even further. And then as you rock it back, your sit bone comes towards the floor. The muscles on the back of your hip pull it down towards the floor. So use the hand just to create the awareness of the rotation of the leg bone and the hip socket, but use the muscles in the hip to encourage more movement in that direction within your range, right? So you're not trying to go out of your comfort range. The next time you rock forward, stay forward. Use the muscles in your hand to push yourself a little bit further forward. Knee stays in line with the hip. Release the hand from the leg. Lift the left foot off the floor, press the knee down. Touch it down. Keep the knee on the floor, lift the back foot off the floor. Take it down. I am noticing, keep doing this, that my pants are the same color as the mats and the floor. So I might be hard to see. So I keep using my hand so that you can see where my leg is. Next time you lift it up, keep it up. Use your hand to move the upper leg bone more forward and keep pressing the knee down. So you should feel an interesting sensation in the outside of your hip. Might even include some cramping. Cramping does not mean it's bad for you, it means that muscles that don't know what the heck they're doing are going, what is this? So lift it a little higher. If this is relatively comfortable, you can take the palm of your right hand down and lean towards your right hand and lift your left knee off the floor. So it's hovering parallel to the floor. Maybe this feels awesome, maybe not. But if it does, you can try to karate chop the leg forward and then kick the heel towards your hip. So in my opinion, and with my awareness of anatomy and biomechanics, creating stability means that we have to use muscles that aren't so comfortable to use if we haven't been using them. Bend your knee, lower the knee back down to the floor, rock the hip back. Inner edge of your foot presses down, left hand comes behind your hip, lift the knee off the floor. Rotate it down. Lift the knee, rotate it down. And there's a difference between pain and discomfort. So make sure that you do keep respect for pain and don't go into, ow, pain. Just maybe the, isn't that interesting discomfort. Bring both hands behind your hips and go back. And now touch. Just for testing, see how close that knee gets down in comparison. And then the next time you rock to the left, stay to the left. Find knee in line with hip, knee in line with ankles. Bring your hands, the right hand inside of the arch of your left foot, and then outside, left hand outside of the knee. Turn your torso or your chest towards your right knee. Press the ankle and the knee down into the floor. Exaggerate the external rotation and start to fold forward and up. So we're moving kind of towards increasing external rotation in our hip, kind of testing the waters, noticing where our body is like, I don't know about this. And then having the conversation, you're safe, I promise. I'm not going to force you into anything we're not comfortable with. And then once you find your edge, pause. Use the practice of breath. Seeing if you can create a little bit more release. You can try the pushing the knee down and the ankle down to create tension around the joint. And then release and see if you could go a little deeper. And breathe. Breath is a really good indicator of staying within respect of the body, of honoring your body. If you feel that you have stopped breathing or the breath becomes short and labored, back off a little bit. Ease into it. And bring your hands to the floor and come up. Left hand comes out to the side of your left hip. Right hand comes to the top of your leg bone, close to the hip socket, and start to rotate forward and back. I'm always amazed at how each side is so different. I always think that my issues are in my right hip. And then when I start to try and move my left hip, I'm like, oh, isn't this interesting? That's why sometimes trying to figure things out rather than just being curious and letting what the body feels and offer present itself, and then just kind of working with your body. So using now that awareness of the muscles also, not just the hand, making the movement. And the next time you rotate forward, stay forward. Use your hand to move your leg bone a little bit more forward, and then use your muscles to do the same. Press the knee down, lift the left foot off the ground. Touch it down. Lift, touch, lift, touch. So using that awareness of the muscle that you created when you were just using your hand to rock, that's the muscle that lifts the back foot off the ground, right? Those are the muscles that internally rotate the leg bone. And oftentimes they have no idea what they're doing. Lift and hold. You can remain here and just practice this, or you can come down to your left palm, lean your shoulder towards your left palm, and lift the right leg off the ground. Maybe you just pause here, or maybe you try to straighten and bend. You're using the outer hip to hold the leg over the floor. Using a lot of things to coordinate the bending and straightening of the knee. Bend the knee and come back up. Start to rock your hip back. Use the muscles to pull the hip back and lift the knee off the floor as you press the inner edge of your foot down. So this is external rotation in the position of where your leg, called abduction, of where your legs are open. So it's an interesting movement we don't do often, but it helps to create healthy hips. Next time, allow that rotation to continue all the way through. Touch and touch, and notice the work that you've done. Bring the soles of the feet back together, Baddha Konasana. Just observe. And then come into hands and knees. If a few cat and cows, we haven't done much to move the spine. So I invite you to explore flexion and extension in your spine. And in relation to hips that are slowly opening. And tuck the toes under. Move your sit bones towards your hips. So as if you were going into child's pose without dropping your head towards the floor. Lift the knees off the floor. So push down through your hands to lift the knees as your sit bones move towards your heels. And then straighten your legs into downward facing dog. Come high up onto your toes. Tops of your leg bones move back into the back of your hip socket. So we just spent a lot of time on the hip socket. So now we're moving the leg bones, the ball, into the back of your hip socket, which you should feel the sensation of your sit bones, which you also felt when we were on the foam roller. Lift them up towards the sky and spread them apart. Bend your right knee, reach your left heel towards the ground. Try to keep your sit bones as high as they were lifted when you started with both legs straight. Come back up onto your toes and then switch. Bend the left knee, reach your right heel towards the ground. Keep the sit bones lifted. If the heel doesn't touch, that's okay. Come back up onto your toes. Look between your thumbs and step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Lower your left knee to the ground. Point the left toes back and press the front of the left foot into the ground. You can keep your left hand either on the ground or lifted up onto a block. Take your right hand to the top of your right thigh above your knee and use your hand to push your knee forward. Your knee will come forward of your ankle joint, and I promise it's safe. Press the front of your left foot into the ground and push your knee forward a little bit more. Lean back, move your hips towards your heel. your left heel as you straighten your right leg. Flex your ankle. Press the heel down and drag it back. Firm the front of your thigh, firm the back of your thigh. Walk the hands forward and come back into the lunge. Walk your foot out a little bit more. Turn the toes out, hands to the ground. Keep your left hand on the ground. If you need a block, if you need more space, by all means, use the block. Take your right hand and place it inside your knee. Push your knee into your hand. As you push the knee in towards the hand, maybe even a fist is better, press to the front of your left foot. So keep the front of your left foot's hip stable by pressing the foot into the ground. Keep pressing the knee in towards your fist. Switch the hand to the outside of the knee and push the knee out into the hand. Keep pressing through the front of your back foot. You may feel that this awareness to tension creates more space. Bring the fist back to the inside of the knee and push in. Press to the inner edge of your right foot, push the knee into your hand more. Switch again to the outside, push the knee out, outer edge of your foot. Bring the hands to the ground, tuck the left toes under, lift the knee, and step back into downward facing dog. Bend one knee and then the other. Keep the sit bones lifted and spread. And observe. So the mind is staying present with the body. Very, very aware. Lift up onto your toes, gaze between your thumbs, and step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Drop your right knee to the ground. Turn the front of your foot to the floor, and as you press into the front of your foot, the foot into the floor, notice how that creates a sensation of stability on the front of your back hip. Left hand to the top of the left knee, push the knee forward as you continue to push the right foot into the ground. So you're creating a really deep hip flexion in your front hip and a stabilized extension in your back hip. Bring both hands to the ground. Walk your hips back towards your heels. If you want to tuck your right toes under, you can. Flex your left ankle, toes reach towards your head from the front of your thigh, from the back of your thigh. Push the heel down and drag it back. So as we create tension or contraction in your hamstring, we're also stretching it, which should create a little bit more space than just passively stretching your hamstring. Walk the hands forward, bend the knee, hands inside of your foot. Walk your foot out a little bit more and turn your toes out. Keep the foot on the ground. Right palm to the ground, point the toes back again, press the foot into the floor. Bring your fist to the inside of your knee and push your knee into your hand. Inner edge of your left foot pushes into the floor. So you're creating awareness of your adductors to create more space in your adductors. Switch the fist to the outside of the knee and do the opposite. Push the knee out, outer edge of your hand. Push into the back foot. See if you go a little bit more. Bring the hand inside the knee again, push in. Hands down, knee to the out, push out. Outer edge foot presses down. Good. Both hands to the ground and step back again to downward facing dog. Review your work. Bending one knee and then the other. Lift up onto your toes, gaze between your thumbs. Walk your hands a little closer together to where the thumbs almost touch. You can step or hop to Malasana or yogi squat. So bring the feet to the outside of your hands and sink your hips towards the floor. This may be hard. You can use a block or just have the hips higher. Bring your hands to heart center. Push your elbows out into your knees as you push your knees into your elbows. Inner edges of your feet press down, and then outer edges of your feet press down as you hug your outer hips in. Good. Hands to the floor. Toes remain pointing out. Come into forward fold. Turn your toes in so your feet are parallel, but your feet are still a little wider than hip distance. Inhale, hands to your shins. Lift your spine parallel to the floor. Find your sit bones, lift and spread them apart as you stretch your spine long. Tone your lower belly. Knees can bend or stay straight. Hinge from your hip creases, fold. Press down through your feet. Inhale, reach your arms up and over your head. Stand up, gaze up. Hands to heart center. Heel toe your feet in. So now they are sit bone distance apart. Hands beside your hips. Rotate your palms out. Inhale, reach your arms up. Knees bend straight forward. Hinge your hips back and start to fold. Lift your sit bones, spread your sit bones, maybe straighten your knees. Inhale, halfway lift, straighten your knees, hands to your shins. Lift and spread, stretch your spine. Exhale, hinge forward, fold. Press down through your feet. Inhale, reach up, stretch up, stand up, gaze up. Exhale, hands to heart center. If you were able to keep your knees straight, you can bring your big toes to touch. If you knees bent, you can either take your feet back to that first position or stay with the feet hip to sit bone distance apart. Rotate your palms open. Inhale, reach up, stretch up. Either knees bent or straight. Hinge from your hips. Fold forward. Hands to the floor. Inhale, hands to your shins. Lift and spread your sit bones. Move towards straightening your legs, firming the front of your thighs, firming the back of your thighs. Exhale, hands to the floor, knees can bend. And step left foot to the back of your mat. So high lunge. Widen your stance so that your feet are hip distance apart. Right knee directly above right ankle joint. Lift the back of your left thigh up towards the sky, feeling your pelvis lift a little higher. Bring your hands to your heart. Lift your belly off your thigh. Reach through your back heel. Hug your outer hips in. Lift up, crescent warrior. Rotate left heel down and in and open up into Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Bring your fist to the inside of your right knee. Press in, so fist into your knee, knee into your fist, inner edge of your foot awareness. Bring the fist to the outside of your knee. Press out. Wrap your outer glute muscle down and then hug the hip in. Bring the arms wide. Press the outer edge of your left foot down and goes over your right hand. Hands to your pelvis. Straighten your right leg. Turn your right toes in slightly and your left toes out slightly. So we're not in a really wide open foot stance. It's just slightly open. Shift your left knee forward. As you do, fold your torso parallel to the floor. So it's straight forward from your hips not over your knee. As you lift your torso, bend your right knee out over your right toes. You can keep your hands on your pelvis to kind of keep everything in your pelvis aligned. You're going to move back and forth from this. So upright as you bend your right knee, hinging left hip back, straight back, and torso parallel to the floor. And this is mobilizing and stabilizing all the muscles that stabilize your hip joint. Next time you come up, stay up. Turn your right toes back towards the front edge of your mat. Left toes in slightly. Rotate arms over your head, ribs towards the front of your mat, and come into Virabhadrasana 1. Press your left heel back and down. Outer edge of left foot, back and down. Hug right hip, left hip in. Exhale, hinge from your hips, fold forward. Hands on either side of your right foot. Lift the back heel, step back to plank pose. Firm the outer hips and lift the hip shoulder height. Drop the knees to the floor. Point the toes back. Bend the elbows towards your hips as you lower down, belly to the floor. Forehead to the floor. Stretch your arms out, T to the body. Turn your head to gaze at your right hand. Slide your right hand up towards your right shoulder, elbow above your wrist, fingertips to the floor. Bend your right knee, point your toes towards the sky. Press the front of your left foot into the floor. Lift your right knee off the floor, and then reach your right toes towards the left side of your mat as you rock onto the left side of your body. Roll back to center. Knee to the floor, foot to the floor. Both hands under the shoulder. Firm the belly, press up through hands and knees. And then back into downward facing dog. Look up between the hands, walk the hands closer. Bend the knees, step or hop, Malasana, front of the mat. Hands to the heart, knees push out, or knees push into elbows, elbows push out. Hands to the floor. Exhale, fold forward, parallel the feet. Inhale, hands to shins, lift and spread your sit bones. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press down through your feet, reach your arms over your head, hands to heart center. Walk your feet together to the point where you can move towards keeping your knees straight, hands down. Rotate the palms out. Inhale, reach up, stretch up, gaze up. Exhale, hinge from your hips, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees and step your right foot to the back of your mat. So high lunge. Knee above your ankle joint. Lift your right thigh high, hips high. Hands to heart, stabilize core, hug the hips in. Inhale, reach the arms over your head, crescent warrior. Keep the back leg strong, reaching through your heel, then rotate the heel down and in, Virabhadrasana 2. Shoulders above your hips. Bring your left fist inside your left knee, press in, press down through the inner edge. So engage the adductors. Fist to the outside, press out, rotate glute muscle down towards the floor and back towards the front of your mat. Press down through your feet. Hands to your hips, straighten your leg. Turn both toes in slightly or out slightly. Hinge towards your right foot. Knee comes over your right toe, spine parallel to the floor. As you come upright, Bend your left knee over your second and third toe. Move from side to side. So trying to keep your rib cage and your hips aligned with the long edge of your mat. Knees track your toes and hips pull back rather than pushing out to the side. Next time you come up, stay up. Turn your left toes out more, right toes in. Virabhadrasana 2. Reach your right arm forward and up as you transition to Virabhadrasana 1. So square your hips towards the front of your mat, more the rib cage. Press through the outer right heel down. Outer right edge of your foot down. Hug hips in. Exhale, hinge from your hips, fold forward, hands on either side of your left foot. Step to the back of your mat, plank pose. Option to come down to knees. Option to lower halfway, chaturanga, pause. And then lower all the way down. Forehead to the floor. Stretch the arms out wide, T. Turn your head to your left hand. Glide your left fingertips up towards your shoulder, knee over your wrist. Bend your left knee. Press your right foot down. Lift your left knee. And then reach the toes to the right side of your mat as you rock onto the right side of your body. Rotate back towards the ground. Hands underneath your shoulders. Firm your lower belly, tuck your toes under. Either press up through hands and knees or belly tone, plank and down dog. Breathe. Test what you feel. What's going on in your hips? You can try bending one knee and then the other. Maybe even shifting your hips side to side. And then bring both heels towards the floor. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Reach your right leg up and back, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open the side body, kicking heel towards hip, knee towards sky. Strong left leg. Straighten your right leg. Square your hips. Round through your spine, knee to nose, and step your right foot to your right thumb. Knee over ankle joint, lift the left hip high. Inhale, come all the way up, crescent warrior. Rotate open, Virabhadrasana 2. Stabilize the hips. Straighten both legs. Turn the toes slightly out. Hands to heart. As you bend towards your left knee, you have the option to do what we did the last time, or hands to the floor and move into Skandasana. So right leg stays straight, toes towards sky. You can use your hands to press down and come back up, Virabhadrasana 2. I'm going to do this 2 more times. You can experiment with, do you need your hands? Can you use your core? And how do your hips feel? Rotate back open, Virabhadrasana 2. Sweep the left arm forward, Virabhadrasana 1. Hands to the back, down dog. Last side. Shift your weight to your left foot, right foot. Strong right leg, lift left leg up. Bend the knee, open the hip. So this is a back bend of sorts. Reach the knee up, hip towards, or heel towards hip. Square the hip, straighten the leg. Knee to nose round. Step left foot to left thumb. Keep back heel up, hug hips in, lift. Back of right thigh, rise up, crescent warrior. Open up, Virabhadrasana 2. Hands to heart, straighten the leg, turn the toes forward and out. Move hips to the right, hands to the floor, Skandasana, straight left leg, toes point up. Move 2 more times between this and Virabhadrasana 2. So exploring, you need your hands. Can you use your core? How do your hips feel? Next time you come up, stay up. Sweep right arm down, forward. Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, hinge. Hands on either side of your front foot. Step back plank. Either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Lower all the way down. Arms out to the side, T to the body. Turn your head to the right. Right hand in, bend right knee, press left foot down. Reach your right foot towards the left side of your mat. Roll back onto your belly. Stretch the arm long. Head to the left. Left hand in, bend your knee. Press right foot down. Reach left foot to the right side of your mat. Come back onto your belly. Hands underneath your shoulders. Press up and back to downward facing dog. For 3 breaths, slowing it down, noticing what you feel, and then when you're ready, coming in to child's pose. And breathe. Notice your child's pose. Child's pose is a hip opener. Sometimes tightness in the hips can create resistance in your child's pose. Sometimes it's the knees or the ankles. So just notice. And as usual, time is an issue for me. So we're going to go straight into a reclined position. So shift forward to tabletop, cross your ankles, move your hips back. Bring the feet out in front of you. Just one little test of Baddha Konasana, just to feel. And then bring the knees in and roll back. Arms wide, T to the body, feet wide, windshield wiper, knees side to side. Unwind your spine. And then hug your knees in towards your chest. Coming in back into that space. Honoring the body. Being present. And then finding your final resting posture. A place where you can let go and feel entirely held by the earth beneath you. Doing a scan of your body, noticing what you notice. My hips are vibrating. I don't know if you're experiencing that, but I have done something and it feels nice. Using your breath to release tension. And then finally bringing your breath or your mind to rest on your breath. Slowing down your breath. Then quieting your breath. The hips are designed to create stability, to bear the weight, to move us, to take us forward. And as always, there's a connection between the body and the mind. So bringing into your mind space, what other things in your life create stability? Form a solid foundation from which to move forward. But allow us to also remain present in the now, rooted and grounded. On your next inhalation, reach your arms over your head and stretch through heels or toes, finding inner body length. As you exhale, bend your knees and roll onto your side body. Making this final posture as a space of observation, checking in, body, mind, breath, that interconnectedness. And using your hands and your arms, slowly press yourself up to a seated position. And as you bring your hands to meet at heart center, feeling a sense of self, greeting self. Sensing the space between, bring your hands to your heart and lift your heart towards your hands. Bringing that connection of heart to self. And bow into the space of your hearts, honoring this